Hello, my name is Mike Campbell. I'm Professor of Medical Statistics in ScHARR. I'll be talking to you today about further design analysis of clinical trials, which is ScHARR 674. I suppose the first thing to ask is, well, how does it differ from ScHARR 6116, which is clinical trials? Well, the first thing to realise is it's not actually more advanced, it just complements this previous module. So instead of looking at phase 3 trials, we'll be looking at other aspects of trials in the pharmaceutical industry. So it consists of 6 sessions. So the first session will be looking at good clinical practice, which is ICH E6 and ICH E9. So ICH E6 is actually good clinical practice, and ICH E9 is good statistical practice. And they're really important for the pharmaceutical industry to be aware of those so that they can adhere to this good practice. And we'll also consider European guidelines and the FDA guidelines. So the second session will look at early phase trials and critical path development. So an important point about critical path development is you can't actually do a phase 3 trial before you've done a phase 2 trial. So we'll be looking at the early phase trials, the first compounds into man, and early phase trials, phase 2 trials, and we'll be looking at things such as pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, and important parameters such as the area under the curve and the Cmax. Then that leads on neatly to the next study, which is the next session, which is bioequivalence and non-inferiority trials. So a lot of trials these days are actually not really concerned with the superiority of a product, but whether the product is as good as a competitor's product. So that leads to either bioequivalence, which is in early phase trials, or non-inferiority, which is in phase 3 trials. So you can show that your product is at least non-inferior and possibly cheaper than some competitor's product. Then we'll look at the issue of cluster randomized trials, where a cluster randomized trial is rather than randomizing an individual subject, you randomize a whole group of subjects. So you might randomize a whole pharmacy to give out one particular product, or you might randomize, for example, a community to get a particular intervention. And so they lead to a whole new set of interesting statistical problems, and we'll be considering these in the cluster randomized trial session. Then, when you've done your clinical trials, you'll have a lot of trials together. You might want to combine them in some form of meta-analysis. So we'll be looking at meta-analysis and economic assessment using meta-analysis. And then the final session will be looking at some of the more advanced and modern statistical designs, such as adaptive designs. So a pharmaceutical company will want to get their product onto the market as quickly as possible. So they want to minimize the time between a phase 2 and a phase 3 trial. And there's a lot of new designs, such as seamless phase 2, phase 3 trials, which attempt to do that. We'll be looking at the practicality of doing this in the real world. So that's the ScHARR 674, and thank you very much.